And here we finally are with the 1968 Hot Wheels Redline Custom Camaro. Now you may recall that we did an introductory video on this. I also posted a video on Instagram, and that's actually been some time ago. In the meantime, we've done a video with the General Lee. I also had a mailbox find, General Lee, and I think the Lincoln was also in that time. So we've done a few cars, and this one's been sitting. Not necessarily sitting dormant, but it's been sitting. And you'll see there's a reason for that towards the end. Now you can see here the car doesn't appear to be in horrible shape. Again, I believe I paid around $30 for this, which is highway robbery, but it was the nicest one for that price point. Otherwise, you're going to spend upwards of $100 or more. Now it doesn't look that bad to the naked eye here for a 68 Custom Camaro, but it's actually pretty bad. The paint that's scratched up, it is really chipped. It's not just the paint, it's actual metal. The hood, you'll notice it has a lopsided look to it because it's broken. Then also the windshield's cracked, the roof is dented, and the rear of the car has a bow to it, as you can see right there. Kind of wants to go up at a point. So we're going to start this off by taking off these rivets. Now you can see here I start with the center punch, but quickly decide that I'm going to use a different method. And the method we're going to use here is a Dremel. And we've just got one of the metal cutting bits, as you can see right there. And we're just going to slowly grind that rivet off. Again, I know it's not a rivet. We just call them that. It's basically a post that's been mushroomed out to hold the base on. And we're going to use the same treatment on the rear, obviously in fast motion. If you paid attention to that first clip, you'll notice that we are going at a pretty low rate of speed. Once you think you've got enough of that rivet ground off, go ahead and take it out of your vise. Get a small screwdriver and just pry up. It should pop out. And there it goes. Pry the front of it off. You can see we've got almost perfect holes. And I believe this method works a lot better for these older Redlines because the posts are so small. This gives you a little bit more control over that. And you can see the posts after we ground them off. They're going to need a little bit of touch-up work. Here's the base. We'll go ahead and pop out the interior and the windshield. And there it all goes. Now this does have blue interior and the blue windshield. This is a US version, if I remember correctly. I'm no Redline expert. I just know of the cars. The Hong Kong versus the US, I'm not the greatest on. I just know it's a Redline, and I have to do research just like anyone else to actually find out what model it is. And the online Redline guide, I believe it's called. Check it out on Google. You can find any information you want there. Now since we did grind those posts off, we're going to go ahead and get our file and just clean up those posts. Just flatten them out. They don't have to be perfect, but the flatter you get them, the easier they are to drill and to tap. We'll get the center punch back out and go ahead and punch those flattened out posts. Here we're taking our .050 drill bit and just drilling in as far as we need to. You don't want to go too far, but this post has a good amount of length to it, so not much to worry about. Then we're going to go ahead and take our 2-56 tap and tap out that hole. Now we'll take our 256 button head screw and go ahead and screw that in. I like to use these as holders for my alligator clips when I'm painting, but also to test fit. Be sure to check out the links below in the description. So the description below the video, I'll have links to these screws and just about everything else you need. We're going to give the same treatment to the front, punching it down, drilling it out. Same exact thing we do to the rear. And again, you can find the tap in the description below, the drill bit, the butt head screws, the rotating stand, drills, everything that I use in the video should be in the description below. We're going to go ahead and test fit that other button head screw. Now the front is pretty thin on that, so be sure not to drill too far. Remember those dents we spoke about? Well, there's the one in the rear. See how it's kind of bowed up. We're going to take our hammer and just kind of lightly tap it. You can see I've got it right over the hole of the anvil there, so I'm not smashing down on that screw. And we're just flattening it out. You can see here in fast motion, you can see the change. It actually changes pretty quick. Those are really light taps. That's all it takes. And the roof, same thing. We've got it flat on the anvil, and we're just taking light taps. And this hammer actually has a brass end on it. It's a Harbor Freight hammer. I think they're around $4 or $5. Works great for these. It's really lightweight. That way you're not taking too much of a hit, or you're not striking it too hard to bend it. It's very easy to do. See, we're almost perfectly straight. Now here's the hood. It actually just comes right out. That's because one of the posts is broken. If you remember, beginning, we said the hood had a tilt to it to one side, and there is the problem. See that? It's kind of hard to see there, but the bottom half of that mount is just broken off. And since we do have to do some repair, I went ahead and stripped the body. This body is in horrible shape, pitting. The lines are almost gone for the doors and the trunk, so we don't do any sanding on this. We're going to take some JB Weld. You can get this at any store. If I remember, I'll put a link in the description below. It's the first time I've used this in a video. And we're just going to mix it up. This is how we're going to repair our hood. So here we are. Just going to take a glob of it on a toothpick. I actually put it on both sides. Only one side really needed it, but we're going to make it so it never removes again. Basically, we just glob it on each side. Just at the bottoms, I do the same thing to the other side. Kind of see it there. And there it is, dried. See that clump? Probably put a little bit too much on there, but it's not interfering with anything, and it's definitely not going anywhere. It opens perfectly, closes perfectly. You can see it's nice and loose. I would definitely recommend JB Weld over hot glue or glue. You could use that. I'm just not sure how long it'll last. Now the hood had one real nasty spot on it. This is the only part I end up sanding on this car. I've just got these little sanding blocks. I think I got them from Hobby Lobby, and just sanded it down. Now I went ahead and primered this car, and we'll get to that story in a bit. So the reason why I did primer is because the body was in that bad a shape and I didn't have enough material to sand. And then I went ahead and shot it with a chrome silver. And now we're doing the final paint on the car. You'll notice it's not blue. I've done a lot of blue cars. I said I was going to do this one blue, but I didn't. Now we're going to actually pop these wheels off instead of cutting them, because I have been saving them. It depends on the wheel. Sometimes I cut them, sometimes I save them. I probably have 50 of these things. I'm just saving them for future projects. And there it is. I'm going to take a brass brush and clean up the base. Now, I spent about, I would say 5 minutes. I didn't want to take a wire wheel to this because, again, this car was pretty far gone, and I just went to town. It took all the paint off, and it shined up the base just enough to make it acceptable. The front grille, we're painting it black. We're just using our paint pens. It was originally black. I'm not doing anything different here, as well as the rear. Now, the rear is all black, except for the taillights and the middle emblem. That's how it was originally. We'll go ahead and put some red paint on those taillights. And I think this part of the build turned out great. Actually, it's probably the best part. And you'll see why in a little bit. There's a reason why this car has taken a month to put out here. We got some reproduction wheels. These are not from eBay. These are the nicer of the reproduction. They're not the greatest, but they fit well and they look pretty good. I still have those originals, so if I ever want to paint those or do anything with them, we can do so. Now here's where it gets ugly. So remember, I said I wasn't going to paint it blue because I've done enough blue. So I did antifreeze green, but if you'll notice, that does not look like antifreeze green at all. So there's the antifreeze green, and I used reducer. I actually have two different reducers. They're the same, but I thought maybe something was wrong, so I used both of them. Looks nothing like it did in the bottle. So I actually painted the car, did all this paint, as you see here. This is the final product, but I did this before, and it turned out this color. So then I stripped it, just did bare metal, because I thought maybe the primer and the silver paint were having an effect on it. Bare metal is the same color. Used a different gun, everything. It turned out this color every time. And I painted this car 5 times. So I don't know. It's going to stay this color for now. Doesn't look like antifreeze green to me, but you can see it's an excellent paint job. There's no runs in it. There's no clear coat. This is just straight from the bottle. And it turned out great. Just not the right color. So I'm not sure what the deal is with it. There's no gloss on this. I did not do any shine or any polishing. So that part of it is phenomenal. I mean, usually I have to polish them up a little bit. And this looks like it has about 6 coats of clear on it, when in fact it has 4 coats of antifreeze green. And going back to the coats, I thought maybe by adding more coats it would darken up. On the second car, I had 7 coats, and that was with no primer, silver paint, anything, just bare metal. Again, it was too rough to do that way, but it was the exact same color, so it didn't seem to matter how many coats I put on. It turned out this same green color, which is not antifreeze green. So I'm not sure. I may have gotten a bad bottle of it. I've used a little bit more than half of it because of how many times I've had to paint it. But we won't be using it again. Maybe next time we'll go with lime. It looks more like lime, I guess. Maybe a little bit. I'm not sure. I'm a little bit colorblind with some of the greens, some of the blues, darker colors, so maybe it looks fine, but I don't think so. And you may notice it does have a blue interior, but I just wanted to paint it a different color than blue. And I thought this antifreeze green is so popular, so cool, why not try it? But in the end, this is what we started with. Cracked windshield, bent roof, broken hood, and the back of it's bent up, and lots of paint chips. But all in all, I think it turned out pretty good. The only part I'm disappointed with, aside from the antifreeze green paint being off, are the fact that the panel lines were so thin, especially on the driver's side. You can barely see them there. They were just, it looked like they had been sanded before or just drug across the concrete. I'm guessing the concrete by the looks of the paint. But that's the awesome thing about this hobby, is we can just repaint it again. It takes 20 seconds to strip it down and then just paint it. Maybe paint it a different color. Heck, you can paint it a different color every week if you wanted to. And that's one reason why I give most of these to my grandson. Sure, he may skip them across the floor. I highly doubt it's going to end up in the condition that this one was in, but it may. We'll just paint it. Maybe we'll paint it his favorite color next time. Doesn't matter to me. And maybe the next time we paint it is when he is old enough to have kids, and he can pass these down to his kids. We'll paint it again. He'll know how to do it next time. So in the end, that's what this is all about. Having fun. And here is the finished product, finally. See the hood? It actually stays open and it closes just fine. And the paint turned out awesome. Again, I didn't do any polishing. There's no clear coat. And there's no flaws in it. It looks great. It's just not the right color. And the paint flowed amazing. Most of the time the Spectraflame paint does flow really well, but this seemed to be out of this world. So I'm not sure if that had something to do with the color. Not a paint expert. I don't know. Anyway, if you do see anything in the video you'd like to purchase, be sure to check out the links in the description below. The rotating stand is on there. I get asked that daily. The button head screws are there. The tap. Just about everything except for the paint and maybe the wheels. Just do a Google search for those. You'll find them pretty easily. And with that, feel free to post any questions or comments. And as always, thanks for watching.